door stops.
Well, I've been reading the book. I mean, I'm really into it. I'm like on page 300 and something, but there's 800 and some pages to this book.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, and I really was shocked, but it really keeps you wanting to keep reading more and more and more. And, he's written a couple of screenplays and stuff. The guy, it's a really fantastic book. But I never in my life, when I was in junior high school, one of the assignments was to go home and read a book over the weekend. Well, I didn't do it. I kind of goofed off with my friends and, went out on a date and all that stuff was more important than, I guess, getting good grades at school, right? So then come Monday, we're in the class, and the teacher wanted us to talk about each book we wrote, read over the weekend.
Right.
And I kept sweating, like, oh my God, what am I going to say? Because it was like, if you don't do a good report on this, you're going to flunk that semester. And I'm going, oh God, I'm dead. So she, called my name. I was like towards the last, and she goes, okay, you chose War and Peace. I go, yeah. Well, what can you tell us about War and Peace? And I go, well, I don't remember the movie. And she goes, no, the book. And I start, everybody was laughing and looking at me. And I said, well, the only quiet spot in my house was the closet. And she goes, okay, so you read your book in the closet? I said, well, I went in there, but the problem is there's no light in the closet. So I'm sorry. My parents wouldn't buy me a flashlight, so I couldn't read the book. And I'm so sorry. You know what? She felt so sorry for me. And she said I came up with the best lie she ever heard in 30 years being a teacher. She gave me a passing grade, the lowest possible, but she passed me just because, hey, she said, if anybody can lie like that and think I'd believe it, I'm going to pass you.
What made you choose that for the book? There's a lot of other ones you could have chose too.
I was trying to impress a girl in the class, and I figured, well, I'd pick like the hardest book you could think of to, go home and read over the weekend. I can honestly tell you this, kid. I have not ever read the book yet. I have seen the movie, but in my life, but no, I never read the book. Never.
I haven't read it either.
No, you're not missing anything, because I certainly haven't missed anything on it. So, okay, how long did it take you to write this book of yours?
Probably close to a year. It took me a while, but I wasn't. My intentions weren't exactly to write the book. It was just to have fun with it. So there was a lot of downtime, and where I would set it aside and give my mind time to come up with what I saw happening next. And so, yeah, about a year it took.
Yeah. What do you think of these authors that say they can write a whole book in a week's time? Do you think, honestly, a person could write a great book in a week's time? I mean, I've talked to so many different authors on here, where they said it took them months and months, or in some cases a couple years to write a book. And of course, their book really did good. But I mean, can a person really, just come up with a whole plot and everything in a week's time?
I mean, it's got to be possible, because people do things like that. But there are so many aspects to writing a good book. Like, I didn't even realize how much work actually went into it. Between coming up with the storyline, which everybody does it differently. Some people outline, some people write down little blurbs and go from there. So many different ways for that. And then there's the writing, and then there's the revising, and then editing, and then you have to go back and go over what the edits were. Then you have to do it again and proofread. And then what my publishers go through with all of the formatting and everything there, I would never be able to get a book out in a week. I would have to have caffeine in my veins and not sleep a wink, and just go from the minute after midnight and keep going for the whole week.
Well, when you
But I do know some authors who do great work in short amount of times, like a couple months or things like that, but definitely not a week.
well, as you started writing this book and stuff, I mean, how long? I mean, did you find yourself like going to bed at night and instead of sleeping, all of a sudden you started, oh, this would be perfect for the book?
Oh, yes. My cell phone, since I have a smartphone, next to my bed, as soon as I would have one of those thoughts, I'd pull it up and pull up a notepad on my phone, and I would type it in so that I wouldn't forget it.
Well, you're lucky because if like the cell phone I have right now, I put notes on it every so often. Then I go in the morning, right, and then I go to bring it up and it's not there, and that happens quite often. So,
oh no! At work, I have sticky notes and like random scratch papers everywhere because I'll just randomly think of something, and it might not even be something I'm working on, and I'll just jot stuff down. I have so many planned out books. It's like, okay, now I need to stop and think which one at a time. And focus.
Well, you mentioned this one is a paranormal romance. What got you? I got to ask you a question. What got you interested in the paranormal? There had to be something in your life that triggered it.
Always been drawn to paranormal things. I just always have. Whether it's books, movies. Yes, Twilight. I was one of those.
I think almost everybody was at your age group.
Yeah. It was just always something I enjoyed. And even scary movies that are paranormal and stuff, love that kind of thing. I just gravitate towards it. Always have. And I love love, so there's got to be a love story in there.
Well, a love story is certainly better than a hate story, but let's get into a little bit about your book. I mean, tell us a little bit about it without giving the major plots away.
Well, Nova, my main character, she is a seeker, which they're kind of like the ancestors to all other supernatural beings. They're kind of immortal. They can live to be however long, but they can be killed. So I guess immortal is not the best word for that. But Nova.
Well, now you open this up. They can be killed. Now,
no, they can be killed.
But okay,
like
what does it take to kill them? I mean, chopping their head off, putting a stake through their heart, or or putting shooting them with a silver bullet. I mean, out of curiosity,
very similar to humans. Like they can bleed to death. Obviously, if their head gets chopped off, they're going to die. But typical wounds that we would see could kill them. Just not disease or things like that. I haven't brought any of the diseases in, but definitely things like if they're stabbed in the stomach and they bleed out, they will die.
Okay,
but each seeker has their own ability. No, they're not all the same. Some have the same, but it ranges. And some of them are healers. So they're able to heal other seekers or other beings.
Okay, now, like if they heal people, do they kind of give up any of their length of life and stuff like that?
No. There aren't any bad things that happen to them if they heal others. But one of the things that the seekers pride themselves on is not abusing their powers. For example, when she does find, because Nova was kidnapped, I'll have to back up a little here. She was kidnapped when she was very young, and she was raised in the human world. So she doesn't even know that she doesn't know what it means to be a seeker. She knows she's different, but she doesn't know what that means because they don't get their powers until their 30th birthday. Which you can see I was channeling my whole 30 coming on.
Yeah, it sounds a little bit like it, yeah.
Yeah, and she doesn't know what she is, and that's why she's trying to find her home and her people. And when she finds her father, one of the things that he can do is he can help things grow. So there's a memory when she's little. She remembers what her 5-year-old self called Harvey Day, which is Harvest Day. And that was when her father helped plant all the crops. and she wanted to know why you couldn't just have all the crops bloom and grow and harvest all the food right then and there. And he had to sit down and explain to her, as a 5-year-old, that you can't just take that away. Nature has a course, and there's a reason for everything, and you have to let it grow. He just helps to start those seedlings along, and trying to teach her that there's responsibility behind the powers that he has.
Okay, and so he has the power to help things grow. Yes. Does he have any other powers, or is that his only powers that he has?
They all start with one power, and as they age, they get more. I don't want to give too much away, but he moves. He can move earth, like he can move the ground, and then he can help the plants grow. So it's kind of a 2-part power.
Okay, that's interesting. And going into like maybe towards the middle of the book or something like that, I mean, what is kind of the plot without giving it away about the book? You said it's a paranormal romance, so I take it that the person finds a love, and do they have problems because of her being, having some power? Or
well, she is actually very, very important to her people. And she keeps having these memories of a boy with royal blue eyes. And throughout her life, she has these, because she doesn't remember her family, but she has dreams of this boy with the blue eyes. And she was too young to remember her family, but throughout her life, she keeps dreaming of this guy. And as she starts to feel her powers coming, she realizes that with her best friend, who happens to be it's stuck in the human world too, because he's half shifter, half human, she realizes that she can communicate with him telepathically. So, she's noticing that her powers are starting to develop, and that's what draws her towards finding her way home. And during the trip there, she's actually hurt and has one of these dreams while she's hurt, and ends up connecting with him, the guy with the royal blue eyes, which his name is Nash. She connects with him telepathically so that he's able to help find her. And eventually they end up romantically inclined, but he's supposed to be her guardian, which the guardian is supposed to obviously guard her with his life. So her father is none too pleased that her guardian has fallen in love with her, so it adds a little bit of drama to it.
It does, because all the different shows I've seen through the years on TV and stuff, like Guardians, don't supposed to get romantically or personally involved with people. So
right.
They kind of bent the rules and broke them a little bit, didn't they?
Yes. All while they're trying to figure out still who took her away in the first place and why goblins attacked her, which is what caused her to get hurt along the way. There's all different kinds of creatures and paranormal people along the way that she meets. And the biggest lesson, I think, in this one that she finds out is that home isn't a place, it's the people. And I hope for this is going to be a series. I've got the other ones outlined. But for this one, the biggest issue I wanted to drive home was home isn't a place, it's people. And family isn't always blood. Family is the people that you choose and the people that she meets along the way and that befriend her and just become her family.
Oh, that is so true. I mean, there's a lot of families out there that don't even really love or care about each other, and that you can go out and meet somebody and, become part of their family and be respected and loved a lot more than you could with your own actual family. So just because somebody fools around with a woman or the woman fools around with a guy doesn't mean, and they end up getting married, that doesn't make them a family. It actually,
exactly.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize that. So, I mean, I don't know if you had a bad experience in your life back or, when you were a kid growing up or anything. Not many people would even have thought about that. So, I mean, my hat's to you on that one.
You know, we had a lot of very. My parents had a lot of very close friends